This text alone proves that there was no smear campaign.
Yeah, we've lost some talk.
Hi and welcome to Flossom Talk. I'm Sashti Flo, journalist, Hollywood truth teller, and your voice of reason in a town built on delusion. This is insane. So much tea. I don't know where to start. Today is a major day, by the way, because today they haven't filed it yet, but we're all waiting for the summary judgments to be filed from Baldoni's team and from Blake Lively's team. And I'm sure there's going to be even more juice coming out of that. But for now, we have so much to talk about. So yesterday, Melissa Nathan filed a response to Blake Lively because she tried to sanction her last week, saying that Melissa Nathan hasn't given us the documents we asked for. She's been redacting parts of it, and we asked for that, blah, blah, blah. Yesterday, Melissa Nathan responded, and she said, I did give you all these documents, and here they are, again, for you to see. And she also explained that she had been giving her these documents, and that Baldoni had been giving her these documents, and Blake Lively herself had actually filed these documents. So it's all BS. And again, another attempt to just divert the attention from what's really important here. But what came from this, this is the best part. What came from this is that we got access to see all these text messages and emails. And this is what's so mind-blowing to me, because when we read all these text messages between Baldoni's team, we just realize that there was no smear campaign. All they did, you can see through all these text messages, was trying to just defend themselves against all the bad articles or all the bad publicity that Blake's team planted. Also, in this text exchange, you can see what Colleen Hoover actually did and what a snake she is, how she's been lying and how they have all the evidence to prove that she did. This is so terrible for Colleen Hoover. And this is the result of Blake Lively asking for those sanctions. She keeps shooting herself in the foot. And at this point, I'm wondering if her attorneys are working with the other side, because this is too good to be true. There's also a bombshell of a filing from Jennifer Abel here. She filed her summary judgment asking the judge to look at her case with this in mind, that she was hired by Stephanie Jones and Jones Works. She's showing her contract and everything she was hired to do, and she was only working on behalf of what she was told to do and what she was hired to do by Stephanie Jones and Jones Work. And because of that, she's not liable for those actions. So whatever comes from Blake Lively's lawsuit, she should not have to pay any of those damages. Stephanie Jones have to pay those. Meaning if Blake Lively wins, Stephanie Jones is screwed. So Stephanie Jones is the person who took Jennifer Abel's phone while she was working for her, or when she wanted to leave the company, and gave it to Blake Lively to throw her colleague under the bus. And those text messages ended up, as you know, in New York Times. They used them to smear Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties, and all these lawsuits came from that. And now it's full circle. And it really backfires on Stephanie Jones. I spoke about this before, how Jennifer Abel actually also could ask Stephanie Jones to cover her legal fees for fighting against Blake Lively and Stephanie Jones, which is really funny. And now she's telling the judge here, like, you know what? I'm not liable for anything I did. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not Stephanie Jones today. This is terrible. This is so terrible. Okay, so let's get into these juicy text messages. I think this text alone proves that there was no smear campaign. So listen to what Jamie Heath, Justin Baldoni's colleague from the Wayfarer party, sent to the team. Okay, so in this text, he's referring to an article, I think it was in the Hollywood Reporter, and he's saying, there is some misinformation here for sure, and yet I see this as a win. Let her be praised by Sony. Who cares? It's not a bullet at us. Finally, there's an article that's not directed at Justin. Let her be praised by Sony. Does that sound like someone who is involved in a smear campaign to take someone down? Let her be praised. I see this as a win. He also says here, and honestly, I don't care who Sony nestles up to, as long as they can put out a movie of ours and make money so that we can be Wayfair and do what we do, and then I'm good. Let's not lose sight of the big picture. Right now, that is to keep bullets away from Justin, away from me, and away from Wayfarer. And if that comes at the expense of her being praised, then so be it. That's what kind of person Jamie Heath is. He is saying, let them praise her. That's a win for us as long as they're not coming for us. I am fine with this. I know it's frustrating, he says here, but let's take the high road. As they kept doing, how can anyone claim that there is a smear campaign when you read this text message? Then there's another text exchange here. This is from Henry Grace, which is Justin Baldoni's alias. I don't know why he chose that name, but anyways, he's saying here, are we doing anything to influence this stuff? Or is this real people helping and coming to my defense? So he's been obviously on TikTok or reading stuff online, people that are defending him. And then Jennifer Abel says, no, 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 no fake accounts, none of that. Real people coming to your defense. Trust. It's astonishing to see the enormous outpouring of support, but it's 100% real. If they were doing any of these, don't you think that they would have that conversation in some text messages somewhere? Then Justin says, people are thinking it's us, and watch that video. Just want to be mindful of swell turning, but you guys know this game. I've never been involved in anything before. Then Justin texts this. He's saying, I'm a little more concerned about these TikToks claiming they know information, and there are some dark, disturbing stories about me that are going to break as they're getting DMs. And the only way that would be happening if there are lies. So I know a lot of content creators have come forward and said that they received DMs from anonymous sources saying like, don't say anything bad about Blake because there's some really disturbing things coming out about Justin Baldoni. So you want to be on the right side of this. That happened. And Justin Baldoni was aware of that happening. Then Melissa is responding to Justin saying, I personally am not concerned about this because we all know there are no dark and disturbing stories. And she says they want more clicks, they want more views, and at the end of the day, they will be regurgitating complete rubbish. And she says here, and referencing to the Australian podcast you saw. And it seems like here she's talking about Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, that Justin had heard something on a podcast. And she says that, and referencing to Australian podcast you saw, that's complete garbage. I can tell you, hand on my heart, there was 4 women working on that trial, and I was one of them. Not one Russian bot in sight. It's actually very similar to what you're having right now, the outpouring of love and support being weaponized against you by her side because it can't be true. It's so funny how they used that in that New York Times article, saying because Melissa Nathan was hired by Johnny Depp, she must be using bots here too because she was accused of using bots by Amber Heard. You know, I was also accused of being in collaboration with Melissa Nathan in that New York Times article. And as we've seen from all the evidence that have come out, I am not mentioned anywhere. There is no communication with me anywhere because obviously there was no, but there's also no communication with any content creators. They've only spoken to journalists for big outlets. There is no evidence that they ever spoke directly to any content creators, which I also find interesting. What they keep doing in this entire thread is keep saying that we should amplify and push the posts that are positive towards Justin Baldoni. That is not smearing Blake. They're just trying to save themselves here, and they're taking the high road the entire time. There is nothing in any of these communications saying anything bad about Blake Lively or saying anything bad about her persona. Nothing. Okay, and now we have to get to the Colleen Hoover bit because that is so juicy. So Colleen Hoover sent a text to Justin. Apparently they hadn't spoken in a really long time here because she had already jumped over to Blake Lively's side and decided to support her. So Justin here is sharing with the team a text that he got from Colleen Hoover where she says, amongst other things, that she was really disappointed in him because she didn't have a say in the script of It Ends With Us. She is really offended by this article in the Wrap where Justin said that she was part of the process the entire time, and she denies that. And apparently she had posted something. I don't know what she posted, but apparently she posted something that was very offensive towards the Wayfair parties, or she said something that she regretted afterwards. I think she keeps doing these things, that she says things and then she regrets it. I think maybe she needs some therapy because, as you know, she deleted her whole Instagram account after all of this came out. Anyways, Jennifer Abel here is saying, Justin Baldoni's publicist is saying, Jamie and I spoke, they are deleting the post. Take this opportunity to open a dialogue with her. Apologize, communicate that if you read the interview, it doesn't mean he's cut out the sequel, but it was the decision of how to end the film. So they're also talking about here how he wanted to end the film differently than it was in the book. Because in the book, Ryle and Lily were co-parenting their child, and Justin didn't like that ending because Ryle is abusive, and he's like, I don't want them to end up co-parenting the child because I don't think the DV community is going to like that. So in this article, he talks about that, and Colleen was really, really upset by it. Then there's a lot of text messages back and forth on how he should respond to Colleen to kind of get her to calm down about this. And then Justin is sharing this text that Colleen wrote him where she said, amongst other things, that she didn't have a say in the script. It's a long message, and she says that I know things took an awful turn and I felt forced to choose when I did not want to. But the back and forth articles from both camps are just so upsetting and ridiculous, says Colleen Hoover. Everyone is out there trying to save themselves, and now this has turned into a huge mess. And I know you guys think I've made decisions for certain reasons, but I felt the rift from long before I ever was in contact with Blake. Well, that's a lie, because now I'm going to share some text messages with you where you can see how collaborative she was with Justin and the other way around. And she says here that it started with me not being allowed to read the script until I was sat with readers. But then all the interviews made it seem like you included me in the script from the beginning. I mean, this woman is so delusional because, of course, Justin has all the text messages from her when they're collaborating on the script. So this, I think, is from 2022. She says, oh, I just finished. Wow, I think it's great. Okay, I'm really pleasantly surprised. It's much closer to the book. I totally understand the need for a lot of the changes. There are only a handful of tiny notes. They wouldn't need a rewrite or anything, just some tweaks if you agree with my thoughts. But like I said, love it. Think it's going to make the readers very happy. Blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of those texts going back and forth where it's so obvious that this is a collaboration, that this script was a collaboration between Justin and Colleen. It's so mind-blowing to me that she can lie in that text and make that up when she knows there's so much evidence proving that they did collaborate on the script. I feel like there's something wrong with her at this point. Also, something really heartbreaking here in these text messages, Justin mentioning how he had a bromance with Brandon Sklenar for a year, and then it all went silent. And then he's sharing this text that he got from Isabella Ferrer of how wonderful the experience was for her. And then he also shares this text about Ryan Reynolds and how petty he is. He said in a text, in other news, Ryan unblocked me and Emily, his wife, so he could spy on us. She had a feeling and checked, and she could see his name, and then I checked, and I could search him as well. I couldn't search him a week ago. So Ryan first unfollowed and blocked Justin, and then he unblocked him so that he could see what he was up to. That's how petty Ryan Reynolds really is. Okay, so there's so much juice here. I can't go through everything today. I'm sure that the other summary judgments are going to be like probably filed at the end of the day because that usually happens. So there's going to be so much tomorrow as well. But I just wanted to go quickly through what happens now with Jen Abel's case against Stephanie Jones and how Stephanie Jones is so screwed. So as I said in the beginning of this video, Jennifer Abel filed her summary judgment, and in this judgment, she's asking the judge to rule on something before this even goes to trial because she says, you know, I'm not responsible for my actions. I only did my job, basically. And Stephanie Jones, who also sued Jennifer Abel, who also sued her back, which is a separate lawsuit thing going on here. She kept saying that Jennifer Abel was just like working on her own. But now Jennifer Abel has provided all this communication the team had with Stephanie Jones, showing that she was really involved in everything that went on behind the scenes. She's claiming that she was in Europe and she didn't really know because she was on vacation, but she's on all these email threads and she's been forwarding questions from the press to Jennifer Abel and say, hey, this TMZ article just came out. Do you want to respond to it? So for her to say she didn't know what was going on here is basically just BS. What's really great here as well is that all of this is coming out now before we've even seen the communication with Van Zandt. That company filed a sham lawsuit to get a subpoena out to get Jennifer Abel's phone. And as I mentioned in this filing as well, why did not Stephanie Jones move to quash that subpoena? That should have been her responsibility as an employer. It could have been a very easy thing to do, to quash that subpoena so she would have to give away Jennifer Abel's phone to Blake Lively's team. She didn't do that, which of course makes it so obvious that she betrayed Jennifer Abel. And we also know her personal motivation for doing that because she was really angry with Jennifer Abel for leaving her company and for taking Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties with her as a client. The thing is, in all these communications that we've seen so far, it's quite clear that Wayfarer parties did not want to work with Stephanie Jones anymore. And one of the reasons for that is that they couldn't trust her because the Wayfarer parties believed that Stephanie Jones had gone behind their back and planted a story in Daily Mail. And they had agreed to that point with Leslie Sloan to have a truce. No negative stories about anyone hitting the press, because they wanted to focus on the movie doing well. Stephanie Jones denied that she did such a thing, and she said, you can see my phone log, whatever. But Sony was the one reacting to it, and Sony was the one actually accusing Stephanie Jones of doing that. There's also evidence of that hit piece that was in the Daily Mail written by James Vitushka, that reporter who got fired, who admitted that he had given a false declaration to the court a few months ago. There's so much going on here, you guys. It's hard to follow everything. But this reporter was fired because of that. And here is the article that he wrote, which is basically a hit piece on Justin Baldoni. And his email to Wayfarer parties or to their team, asking them for comment, explains all the things that he had heard from a source. Some of those things were that he was chauvinistic and borderline abusive on the set, that the whole cast didn't like him, that he had a dismissive attitudes toward Blake Lively's input about the character, and that he's such a method actor that he couldn't turn off while he was directing the film, which is so dumb. You can't be a method actor and then direct a movie. So they're basically saying that he directed the movie as Ryle. Anyway, this became a big hit piece in Daily Mail. And here's the article that they published. And here's the article that James Vitushka published. Disturbing truth behind why Blake Lively and Her It Ends With Us stars are feuding with Justin Baldoni. And it says here, Justin Baldoni was chauvinistic and borderline abusive on the set and sparked fury over his refusal to consider the perspective of co-star Blake Lively. while filming scenes that depicted abuse, insiders have claimed. Now insiders have revealed the concerning truth about the tension, telling Daily Mail that Blake and Justin clashed over his dismissive attitude to her input. The insider claimed that Justin only focused on what he believed was the abusive male viewpoint and had a very chauvinistic approach to the topic. His behavior extended beyond the main players, the source continued. Once he felt ganged up on, he became even less empathetic. Now he's speaking praises, likely out of the fear that they'll call him out. He knows it's coming and might try to blame his actions on being a method actor. So that hit piece, to me, is all the evidence that I need to see that Blake Lively was launching a smear campaign against Justin Baldoni. I feel everything through this whole entire case, everything that she has accused him of, she's been doing herself. There's also more evidence here that Justin actually was worried that some of the comments and some of the people defending him were bots. So he reached out to the team saying, "Hi, tag team. I've been seeing some Instagram comments on random posts defending me by people who are private with no followers, and they feel like bots. Can you please confirm we are not doing any of that? I really don't want bots defending me as it feeds into their potential narrative." I mean, all of this evidence that Blake Lively has put forward really proves the opposite of what she's trying to prove. And then there's also a long email from Stephanie Jones when she's trying to fix that story from TMZ when they said someone on set had said that the kiss was lingering too long and that Justin Baldoni had fat-shamed Blake Lively. Another hit piece on Justin. So Stephanie's then giving them a strategy on how to deal with this, on how to flood everything with positive articles. And she's kind of begging Wayfair here to keep her on her team and defending herself and saying that she never planted anything and she's innocent here and she can prove it because she's really worried she's going to lose the account, which she did. Anyway, that's it from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. That was a lot. I know it is a lot. And sometimes it can be quite overwhelming to get through everything. I hope it wasn't confusing for you guys. Let me know if you want some clarifications on anything. I'll be happy to explain further if there's anything that's unclear. And a lot of this stuff happened, you know, I spoke about it in January or February this year. So it's been a long time and a lot of things have happened so far. So anyway, stay tuned for tomorrow, which is going to be a big day. I can't wait to share all the updates with you guys. And again, if you haven't subscribed, please do and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Flawsome Talk. And I'll see you soon. Bye.